The Mandalorian story begins in the Outer Rim, on a planet that would define galactic warfare for millennia. Mandalore. Harsh, unforgiving, and perfect for breeding the galaxy's most feared warriors. While the exact origins remain shrouded in mystery, we know the Mandalorians emerged as a clan-based warrior culture that would make Spartans look like pacifist monks. The foundation of Mandalorian society was the clan system. Not just military units, but families bound by something stronger than blood. The Rezulnair, or Six Actions. This ancient code demanded every Mandalorian wear armor, speak Mandoa, defend themselves and their families, raise children as warriors, contribute to clan welfare, and rally when the Mandalore calls. Think of it as the universe's most intense cultural constitution, written in Beskar and battlefield experience. What made every Mandalorian clans revolutionary was their radical approach to membership. While other galactic cultures obsessed over bloodlines and genetic purity, Mandalorians asked one simple question: can you survive the trials? Species didn't matter. Planet of origin was irrelevant. If you could fight, follow the code, and earn your armor, congratulations, you're family now. This inclusivity wasn't just progressive, it was strategically brilliant, allowing them to absorb warriors from conquered worlds and defeated enemies. The clan structure established a controlled chaos that defined Mandalorian politics forever. Each clan maintained distinct traditions, fighting styles, and territorial holdings, yet all answered to the Mandalore when called. Ancient clans like Ordo, Vizsla, and Kryze emerged during these early periods, names that would echo through history like battle hymns. They developed unique identities, some favored aerial combat, others ground warfare, some became weaponsmiths, others scouts, but all shared the warrior foundation. This decentralized structure proved both strength and weakness. When united under a strong Mandalore, the clans became an unstoppable force. When divided, they turned their considerable martial prowess against each other in civil wars that would periodically devastate their home world. This cycle of unity and division would become the defining pattern of Mandalorian history. The Mandalorian Crusaders represented the culture's most aggressive expansion period, when conquest wasn't just policy, it was religious doctrine. These ancient warriors didn't fight for resources or territory. They fought because combat was sacred, victory was virtue, and the galaxy existed to test their strength. Every battle was simultaneously a prayer and a proof of worthiness. During the Old Republic era, the Crusaders established a template for Mandalorian expansion that would terrify the galaxy for generations. They developed the iconic T-visor helmet design, perfected jetpack warfare, and created the Basilic war droids, mechanical monsters that could devastate entire armies. Their tactics combined overwhelming firepower with psychological warfare, using fear as effectively as any blaster. The Crusaders' recruitment philosophy was beautifully simple. Prove yourself in combat, adopt the culture, become Mandalorian. They transformed farmers into warriors, merchants into commandos, entire planetary populations into clan members. This mass adoption policy wasn't just about numbers, it was about proving Mandalorian superiority transcended genetics. The best warrior won, regardless of species. Their conflicts with the Jedi Order established the eternal rivalry between Force users and Mandalorian technology. The Crusaders developed specialized weapons and tactics specifically to counter lightsabers and Force abilities. Cortosis weave armor, sonic weapons, flamethrowers, and coordinated jetpack assaults that overwhelmed individual Jedi. These anti-Jedi techniques would be passed down through generations, making Mandalorians the only non-Force sensitive culture that regularly defeated Jedi in combat. The Crusader era ended not through external defeat, but internal evolution. As the galaxy changed, some Mandalorians began questioning whether eternal conquest was sustainable. This ideological shift planted seeds for future factional conflicts between those who saw war as the only way and those who wondered if there might be alternatives. The Crusaders didn't disappear, they evolved, their descendants carrying their warrior spirit into new eras while debating what the spirit meant. Their legacy extends beyond military tactics. The Crusaders established Mandalorian culture exports. Combat techniques studied across the galaxy, armor designs copied but never equaled, and a reputation that made Mandalorian synonymous with warrior in countless languages. The Clone Wars brought Mandalore's greatest identity crisis, splitting the culture between radical pacifists and violent traditionalists. Picture a society where wearing your grandfather's armor could get you arrested while your cousin plots terrorism to restore the good old days of conquest. This wasn't just political disagreement, it was civil war over Mandalore's soul. Duchess Satine Kryze's new Mandalorians represented radical transformation. After witnessing the devastating Mandalorian civil wars that turned their homeworld into a wasteland, Satine concluded that warrior culture equaled extinction. Her government banned traditional armor, outlawed weapons, and moved populations into biodome cities. They embraced neutrality in galactic conflicts, established trade relationships, and created educational systems focused on art, science, and commerce rather than combat. Under Satine's rule, Sundari became a gleaming metropolis showcasing Mandalorian achievement beyond warfare. The new Mandalorians proved their people could excel at more than killing. They became architects, engineers, artists. For the first time in millennia, Mandalorian children grew up without expecting to die in battle. Satine's pacifist government gained Republic support, presenting Mandalore as reformed, civilized, safe for investment and alliance. Death Watch violently rejected this transformation. Led by Pre Vizsla, wielding the ancient darksaber, they viewed Satine's peace as cultural genocide. Operating from Concordia, Mandalore's moon, Death Watch conducted terrorist attacks, burned villages supporting the government, and recruited warriors who felt betrayed by pacifist policies. They weren't just fighting for political power, they were fighting for Mandalorian identity itself. Pre Vizsla's Death Watch allied with Count Dooku's separatists, then later Darth Maul's Shadow Collective, showing their willingness to compromise with outsiders to restore warrior traditions. Ironic given the rhetoric about cultural purity. When Maul defeated Vizsla and claimed leadership, Death Watch split. Some accepted this outcome as proper tradition, strength rules, while others, led by Bo-Katan Kryze, rejected outside leadership. This conflict revealed the fundamental Mandalorian paradox. Their warrior traditions brought destruction, but abandoning them meant losing their identity. Neither faction could offer a complete solution, setting the stage for future attempts to balance tradition with survival. Darth Maul's takeover of Mandalore demonstrated what happens when Mandalorian traditions get weaponized against them. The former Sith Lord didn't just conquer, he exposed the fatal flaw in might makes right philosophy. By defeating Pre Vizsla in traditional combat, Maul became the legitimate ruler according to ancient law, forcing Mandalorians to choose between their codes and their prejudices. The Mandalorian Super Commandos emerged from Death Watch members who accepted Maul's victory. Led by commanders like Gar Saxon and Rook Kast, they represented warrior culture stripped of honor. Skilled fighters serving whoever proved strongest. They adopted Maul's red and black color scheme, turning Mandalorian armor into symbols of criminal authority rather than cultural pride. These weren't noble warriors, they were elite enforcers for a crime syndicate. Maul's Shadow Collective transformed Mandalore into organized crime's capital, uniting Death Watch, Black Sun, the Pike Syndicate, and Hutt Cartel under Mandalorian military might. The warrior planet became a criminal empire's throne world, its proud traditions twisted into tools of oppression. Super Commandos enforced Maul's will across the galaxy, using Mandalorian combat superiority for extortion, assassination, and intimidation. The Siege of Mandalore exposed the Super Commandos' hollow strength. When Ahsoka Tano arrived with Republic forces, these elite warriors fought desperately for a leader who cared nothing for Mandalorian culture. They demonstrated exceptional skill, coordinating jetpack assaults, laying sophisticated traps, utilizing Sundari's architecture for tactical advantage, but fought without the purpose that traditionally motivated Mandalorian warriors. After Maul's defeat in Order 66, the Super Commandos story continued under Imperial rule. Gar Saxon transformed them into Imperial Super Commandos, proving that selling out to authoritarians was apparently a transferable skill. They traded crime syndicate badges for Imperial insignias, becoming enforcers of occupation rather than liberation. Saxon's Imperial Viceroy position represented the ultimate corruption of Mandalorian leadership, a warrior ruling not through strength or wisdom, but through collaboration with foreign oppressors. The Super Commandos hunted their own people, enforced anti-Mandalorian laws, and helped the Empire systematically destroy the culture they once claimed to protect. The major Mandalorian clans function like noble houses crossed with special forces units, each representing different philosophies about what Mandalorian culture should become. These aren't just extended families, they're political institutions whose alliances and rivalries shaped galactic history. Clan Kryze stands at Mandalorian History Center, producing both Duchess Satine, the pacifist reformer, and Bo-Katan, the warrior redeemer. Based on Kalevala, wearing distinctive blue and white armor, Kryze represented legitimate leadership for generations. Satine tried saving Mandalore through peace, Bo-Katan through strength. Both sisters wanted Mandalore to transcend stereotypes just through opposite methods. Bo-Katan's evolution from Death Watch terrorist to legitimate Mandalore demonstrates how Mandalorian politics rewards adaptability over consistency. Clan Vizsla embodies traditionalist aristocracy. They gave Mandalore Tar Vizsla, the first Mandalorian Jedi who created the Darksaber, the black-bladed lightsaber that became Mandalore's crown jewel. Pre-Vizsla continued the warrior tradition through Death Watch, while Paz Vizsla represented the clan among the children of the Watch. Clan Vizsla never compromised, never modernized, never apologized. They're the baseline against which other clans measure their warrior credentials. Clan Ren proved Mandalorians could be artists and warriors simultaneously. Based on Crownest, they created beautiful armor while maintaining lethal combat skills. Sabine Wren's journey from Imperial Cadet to Rebel Hero to Jedi Apprentice showcased the clan's adaptability. Under Ursa Wren's leadership during Imperial occupation, they chose rebellion over collaboration, fighting alongside other clans against Saxon and the Empire. They demonstrated that Mandalorian culture could embrace creativity without sacrificing strength. Clan Saxon serves as the cautionary tale. Under Gar Saxon's leadership, they chose Imperial collaboration over resistance, earning universal contempt. Saxon traded Mandalorian independence for Imperial authority, even developing the Duchess weapon specifically targeting Beskar armor, creating anti-Mandalorian weapons while claiming to protect Mandalorian culture. After Gar's death, his brother Tiber continued his betrayal until Sabine Wren destroyed both the weapon and Saxon authority. These four clans represent Mandalorian society's philosophical spectrum: Kryze's evolution, Vizsla's traditionalism, Wren's artistic warrior fusion, and Saxon's collaborative corruption. The Imperial occupation of Mandalore represents the darkest chapter in Mandalorian history, when the Empire decided that warriors who'd fought Jedi for millennia were too dangerous to exist. This wasn't just military conquest, it was systematic cultural genocide executed with bureaucratic efficiency that only the Empire could achieve. Following the Clone Wars chaos, Gar Saxon struck a devil's bargain. He'd keep Mandalore compliant in exchange for Imperial backing. As Imperial Viceroy, Saxon transformed Mandalorian warriors into occupation forces against their own people. The Imperial Supercommandos hunted resistance fighters, enforced anti-armor laws, and installed Imperial academies to indoctrinate children. Traditional weapons were outlawed, armor possession regulated, warrior training criminalized. The Night of 1,000 Tears, also called the Great Purge, revealed the Empire's true intentions. Bo-Katan had negotiated surrender terms with Moff Gideon. Disarm, submit, and Mandalorian lives would be spared. The Empire's response? Orbital bombardment, fusion bombs, and systematic extermination. They turned Mandalore's surface to glass, transforming the warrior homeworld into a toxic wasteland. The Empire deployed KX series security droids and death squads to hunt survivors. Cities, schools, hospitals, nothing was spared. The warriors who'd stood against ancient Sith and Jedi were slaughtered like animals. Moff Gideon personally claimed the Darksaber, adding insult to genocide by taking Mandalore's greatest symbol as a trophy. Survivors scattered across the galaxy as refugees, forced to hide identities, sell ancestral armor, or disappear entirely. Some, like Din Djarin's covert, went underground, developing strict protocols about never removing helmets to avoid detection. Others, like Bo-Katan's forces, maintained military resistance despite dwindling numbers. The Purge united previously warring factions through shared trauma. The psychological devastation matched the physical destruction. Parents who'd planned to raise warriors now chose between cultural preservation and survival. This is the way transformed from proud declaration to desperate prayer. The Empire hadn't just conquered Mandalore. They'd nearly succeeded in erasing Mandalorians from existence, turning a proud warrior culture into scattered, traumatized survivors clinging to fragments of their identity. The Children of the Watch emerged from the Purge's ashes as ultra-orthodox fundamentalists who decided the solution to cultural extinction was maximum tradition. While other survivors tried assimilating or rebuilding, the Watch went underground, literally and figuratively, creating a warrior monk cult that makes ancient crusaders look casual. Their most famous rule, never removing helmets in front of others, was an ancient tradition but post-Purge adaptation. This extreme measure prevented Imperial identification while transforming armor from equipment into religious sacrament. The helmet became identity itself. Removing it meant abandoning your true self. Din Djarin learned this wasn't universal Mandalorian practice, but for the Watch, it defined existence. Each Watch covert operates as an independent cell led by an armorer. Part blacksmith, part priest, part therapist, the armorer doesn't just forge Beskar, she forges souls, ensuring each member understands their armor's weight and their culture's burden. This is the way functions as greeting, farewell, prayer, and affirmation. It's simultaneously limiting and liberating, restricting behavior while providing absolute certainty in an uncertain galaxy. The Watch's foundling obsession transcends simple adoption. Saving orphans isn't charity, it's religious duty honoring those who saved them during the Purge. Din Djarin's relationship with Grogu exemplifies this. A bounty job became a spiritual journey about fatherhood, tradition, and defining family beyond blood. Every founding represents both Mandalore's future and redemption for its past. Their combat philosophy treats violence as worship. Weapons are sacred objects, armor is blessed vesture, and battle becomes prayer. They don't negotiate or compromise. Problems get solved through superior firepower and religious conviction. This approach seems primitive until you realize it kept them alive when pragmatic Mandalorians got exterminated. The Watch's isolation preserved pure Mandalorian tradition while limiting their influence. While Bo-Katan played politics, they hid in sewers maintaining ancient ways. Yet their unwavering faith provided something other factions lost: certainty. In a galaxy where Mandalorians questioned everything about their identity, the Watch knew exactly who they were, even if others called them cultists. The Darksaber isn't just a weapon, it's Mandalore's crown, curse, and compass rolled into one ancient blade. Created by Tar Vizsla, the first Mandalorian Jedi, this unique black-bladed lightsaber represents the impossible fusion of Jedi mysticism and Mandalorian pragmatism. For over 1,000 years, it's been the symbol of legitimate leadership, and whoever wields it theoretically commands all clans' loyalty. Here's the catch that's caused centuries of bloodshed. You can't just inherit or receive the Darksaber. Mandalorian tradition demands winning it through combat, making succession a violent lottery. Pre-Vizsla had it, lost it to Maul, who lost to Sabine Wren, who gave it to Bo-Katan, who lost it to Moff Gideon, who lost it to Din Djarin. Each transfer created legitimacy crisis, civil wars, and philosophical debates about whether might truly makes right. Bo-Katan's arc with the Darksaber embodies Mandalorian tragedy. She accepted it from Sabine without combat, and many believe this illegitimate claim caused the Purge. When Din Djarin offered it after defeating Gideon, she couldn't accept. She learned that shortcuts lead to catastrophe. The weapon meant to unite Mandalore instead reminded everyone of their divisions. Historical unification attempts read like a chronicle of noble failures. Ancient Mandalores united through conquest until defeated by Jedi. Duchess Satine united through pacifism until Death Watch's terrorism. Pre-Vizsla attempted unification through traditionalism until Maul's challenge. Each leader embodied different philosophies: warrior supremacy, peaceful reform, criminal pragmatism, but none achieved lasting unity. The post-Purge era brought new understanding. Survival required cooperation regardless of ideology. When Bo-Katan reclaimed the Darksaber by defeating the Mythosaur on Mandalore, technically winning it from Din Djarin's yielding claim, she didn't become another conqueror. She became a symbol of resilience, offering hope rather than demanding submission. Modern unification differs from historical attempts because it's voluntary, born from shared trauma rather than forced submission. The Darksaber still matters, but as inspiration rather than compulsion. Clans follow Bo-Katan not because tradition demands it, but because extinction is the alternative. The current Mandalorian landscape represents something unprecedented: actual cooperation between historically hostile factions. After the Mandalorian Season 3's event, the surviving clans achieved what millennia of Mandalores couldn't: functional unity born from necessity rather than conquest. The retaking of Mandalore proved that factional differences matter less than species survival. Children of the Watch fought alongside Night Owls, former Imperial collaborators stood with Resistance veterans, and even pirates joined because, apparently, universal extinction transcends political philosophy. This wasn't perfect harmony, more like armed détente, but it worked. Bo-Katan's leadership synthesizes different Mandalorian philosophies into something workable. She combines warrior credibility with political experience, traditional legitimacy through the Darksaber with pragmatic flexibility. She's not recreating Satine's pacifist experiment or Pre-Vizsla's warrior supremacy state. She's building something new: sustainable Mandalorian culture that honors tradition without being enslaved by it. The Children of the Watch evolved through exposure to other Mandalorians. Din Djarin's journey from zealot to questioning adherent to renewed but flexible faithful represents broader transformation. They remain religious fundamentalists, but now acknowledge alternative interpretations of the way. The armorer herself, previously inflexible, showed adaptability by accepting Bo-Katan despite her helmet removal. Current reconstruction efforts reflect lessons learned from previous failures. Instead of one capital making Mandalore vulnerable to single attacks, they're establishing distributed settlements. Each colony potentially represents different Mandalorian interpretations. Warrior communes, technical institutes, artistic enclaves, united by shared identity rather than enforced conformity. Challenges remain enormous. Scattered Mandalorians across the galaxy haven't all received reunification memos. Some comfortable bounty hunters prefer independence. Former Imperial collaborators face justice versus reconciliation debates. Unknown groups maintaining their own traditions in distant systems might emerge with completely different ideas about Mandalorian identity. The future suggests Mandalorian factionalism won't disappear, but transform. Instead of violent splits, expect philosophical debates. Instead of civil wars, political negotiations. The question isn't whether factions will exist. They're seemingly genetic to Mandalorian culture, but whether they can coexist without mutual annihilation. There you have it. Every major Mandalorian faction from ancient crusaders to modern survivors, each representing different answers to one question. What does it mean to be Mandalorian? Their story isn't just about warriors and cool armor. It's about culture, identity, and survival against impossible odds. The beautiful irony, Mandalorian factionalism, the very thing that nearly destroyed them countless times, also ensured survival. Each split created new interpretations, ensuring no single catastrophe could erase them entirely. They're warriors, pacifists, fundamentalists, progressives, criminals, heroes. Sometimes simultaneously. As The Mandalorian and Grogu head to theaters and Season 4 approaches, expect new factions, new philosophies, and new arguments about the way. Because that's what Mandalorians do. They survive, they adapt, and they never stop debating what their culture means. Want more deep dives into Star Wars lore? Subscribe and remember, this is the way. Or one of them, anyway.